Deceptive Reflections. I don't want to be found. In a small, poorly lit cafe, the young woman's voice quivered as she spoke to the private investigator, Jack Carter. Sarah Thompson was her name, and she had secrets and a hidden past. Her eyes glanced around nervously, as if she was expecting a predator to emerge from the shadows. Carter leaned forward, his piercing blue gaze on Sarah. His tough look and harsh voice belied a sensitive spirit that had witnessed its fair share of broken lives. "You have to believe me, Sarah. Please explain what's going on." Sarah took a deep breath and began her tale of deception and sorrow. "It all began 2 years ago. Richard Thompson, my father, was a successful businessman. He appeared to be unstoppable and untouchable, but then he vanished one day, leaving no trace." Carter's curiosity was piqued. "And what happened next?" Sarah's voice trembled. "My mother, Isabella, was heartbroken. She couldn't believe her eyes. We hired detectives, but they came up empty-handed. My father's empire disintegrated, and our lives with it." "Why have you come to me now?" Carter inquired, his voice pleasant yet firm. "I received a letter, a blackmail letter, demanding a large sum of money in exchange for keeping my father's darkest secrets hidden. You were referenced in the letter, Jack. It claimed you could assist me in discovering the truth." Carter leaned back and stroked his salt and pepper hair. "The truth is frequently painful, Sarah. Are you ready for what we might find?" Sarah nodded, a determined expression on her face. "I need to know the truth, no matter how painful it may be." The investigation led them down a dark alley of betrayal and secret intentions. Sarah's father had been caught up in a web of deception that stretched all the way to the top. Carter and Sarah dug further and discovered a dark secret that upended all they thought they knew. Sarah's mother, Isabella, vanished in the midst of their quest. Carter, recognizing a link, investigated the mystery of her disappearance. He found a harsh truth. Isabella was not the woman Sarah thought she was. She'd been living a double life, caught up in her husband's web of deception. Sarah had been staring at the truth all along, hiding in plain sight. Her father's disappearance was a manufactured event to avoid the consequences of his conduct, not an abduction or murder. Isabella had abandoned her daughter to conceal her own secrets, torn between loyalty and self-preservation. Sarah faced her father in a lonely cabin nestled in the woods, devastated by the revelation. She looked into his eyes, which had once been filled with love but were now empty and hollow. "How could you possibly do this to us, Dad? How could you abandon us in this state?" Richard Thompson hung his head in shame, a broken man. "I assumed it was the only option, Sarah. I never intended for it to go this far to protect you." Carter stood there watching the situation play out, his heart heavy with the weight of the reality. He had witnessed other incidents of dishonesty, but this one touched a deep chord within him. He saw a reflection of his own pain and destroyed past in Sarah's eyes. Sarah made a decision after realizing the reality. She would not be defined by her father's activities. She would rise above the deception and forge her own path. She rebuilt her life with Carter's help, leaving the shadows of her past behind. Months passed, and Sarah found refuge in her self-discovery path. Carter remained a rock of strength, guiding her through the devastation of a broken family. They worked together to decipher the complicated web of lies that surrounded Richard Thompson's empire. The truth, however difficult, had become their weapon against the forces that had shattered their lives. Sarah recognized with renewed clarity that the secrets that had plagued her family were not hers to bear. Her parents' misdeeds were not hers to atone for. She would carve her own way, free of the darkness that threatened to devour her. In the end, the truth set her free. A bittersweet win in the middle of betrayal's ruin. Sarah's footsteps echoed with the strength and perseverance of a woman who refused to be defined by the lies of others. Carter watched her leave, his own scars beginning to heal. In that instant, the weight of his own past, the horrors that had tortured him for years, appeared to lift. While the wounds will always be there, Sarah's triumph offered him hope. In this world of duplicity and ruined lives, I hope there is still hope for restoration. As the cafe faded into the distance, Carter swore to keep fighting for individuals who had become entangled in the web of deceit. In the darkest of nights, he would be their voice and a beacon of light.